Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last Facebook Live before I don't have this big belly and baby Lindsay comes. I'm so excited to bring back Melinda Fowler, who I want to brag on her for a second. She has been the best guest. I love all of you guests out there. But as far as sharing and promoting, we got 100 views on YouTube from our last Facebook Live. I'm like, we have to bring her back. And so I know that we did a Healers in Healthcare show together, and everybody learned so much about you. And so we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit today and talk about, you know, profitable practice secrets and how to scale a profitable healing practice. And I want you to actually share a little bit more about your experience in over the last, I think it's been what, 6 months since you really
Yeah.
went full force in your business. So we're going to kind of get the coach perspective and just really hear from you as well. So we want to talk about today the 4 pillars for scaling your profitable healing business. And we already have people here. I see people joining. So um, if you are joining us live, make sure that you let me know who you are by going to the top of the broadcast. It's going to say Ecamm Live, grant Ecamm Live access so that I can see when you comment so that we can know who to give our prizes to, because if you're coming on live, you get first dibs on these amazing prizes, and you know that I love doing giveaways. So Melinda and I are both going to be doing some fun giveaways together, and so make sure that you're commenting, engaging. We want to know that you're here with us. Ask questions. It's great to come on and learn, but we want to actually help you to implement in your business so that you can scale your profitable practice. So anyway, I will let Melinda introduce herself again. If you are new to the group, because I know we have a ton of new people to the group, I wanted you to hear a little bit more about what Melinda's up to in her functional medicine practice.
So I'm Melinda Fowler, and like you said, about 6 months ago, I started the hormonal pharmacist. It has been a learning journey. I've made a lot of mistakes. I say they're mistakes, but we reframe that and we say those are learning opportunities, right? And I guess about a year ago, I had this dream, I had this vision for several years, but about a year ago, I started putting feet to this dream and like, okay, I can sit here and dream about it, or I can put it into practice. And so
Right.
I started gathering all the things from all the people, and I found Christina, and she has helped me so much in just becoming my true, authentic self and not being afraid to just be me and to connect with the people that need what I have. There's so many women going through perimenopause journey right now and nobody really knows what's going on, and so I hope that through the hormonal pharmacist that will give some people some guidance, and also to help me branch out from my traditional in the box retail pharmacy into something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm excited.
I love it. And I love what you said. There's a key piece there about feet on the street, actually implementing. I have seen so many people over the last, I've been in business for 12 years, and people say, like, oh, I really want to do that. But then it's that implementation, right? And so what I help people with is really getting that idea, whether it's a divine download or an inspiration or that excitement that you have to start a program, to create a service that's both profitable and impactful, and then taking that all the way to implementation. And I think sometimes, we always talk about that there's that gap in between that is, procrastination and all of these different protective parts of us that, because of some past experience, because of undigested trauma or unworthiness, or some of these survival patterns that are really just trying to keep us safe, that gap can be really long. So I've heard people say, like, oh, I really want to, write a book. And I'm like, 5 years later, I'm like, hey, how's that book? And it's not shaming anybody, but it's just bringing to our awareness, like, hey, it could be easier. It's allowed to be easier. And so that's why I love coming on and doing these Facebook Lives. And I'm such a huge nerd. I do blogs and videos and all these different things because I know what it was like to start this journey and not have any guidance and not have any clue what I was doing. Melinda, I think you were saying you made mistakes. Like, I think you did great. Like, you way surpassed anything that I feel like I fumbled a lot in the beginning, but just watching you and witnessing your journey, I really want to celebrate you in taking those bold steps, investing in yourself, and being able to show up and shine as your authentic self. I think Melinda has one of the most engaging social media accounts that I've seen. I think that she uses a lot of her creativity, and I think that's really the key. Is as pharmacists, we're so used to like kind of being in that box and like not using our creativity as much. And so this is your opportunity in the vehicle of your business to show up and shine and to also use that creativity. I see all these comments here and I appreciate it. I see Kim. That's my problem. You ladies are always so inspiring. Somebody wants to win a prize today. Whoever's commenting, they
Yay.
know that the more you engage, the more likely you are to get a little prize today. So, yeah, without further ado, so we will be picking prize winners and we'll message you directly, depending on Melinda and I are going to chat. We'll get together after and we're going to be picking two winners. So anyway, let's dive into the topic for today. As I have this big belly now, so if I'm like breathing heavily, sometimes that's what's happening here. But yeah, let us know that you're here in the chat. I will keep an eye on the chat if you have questions for myself or Melinda. Again, I wanted you to get a perspective of, from a coach perspective, but also a client and somebody that has recently started their entrepreneurial journey to show you what's possible. Because so often it's like, oh, well, I'm a newbie, or like, we have all these blocks. Like, I don't know enough. Like, Melinda just hit the ground running and she's, got, consistent clients and cash flow. And I'm so proud of her. And so that's why I want you to see what's possible for you too if you're watching this. So, why I wanted to do this training. So, I feel that there's a lot of people, we kind of talked about some of those blocks already. You guys kind of know my energetic and transformation paired with strategy, methodology. But a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck with growing their business because they don't have a solid, clear structure or strategic plan. It could be that there is a lack of support or guidance, which I can totally relate to. Like I said, I had this limiting belief that if I hired a coach in the first 7 years of my business, that I was like weak or that I didn't know enough, or it was kind of a lot of those protective parts of myself that where it was protecting unworthiness, really. And so once I kind of was able to let go of that and reach out for help and realize that that's actually a strength, then I think that can really accelerate your path as well. So a lot of people get stuck on that piece, which I totally get. Um, they might get stuck, entrepreneurs might get stuck on having like a clear destination. I always use the dart example. And by the dart, I mean maybe you're not clear on who you're serving, or your ideal client's very vague. And so Melinda's going to be talking about that in the first bullet point, the first pillar about magnetic client attraction. So there's a lot of these very nuanced, both strategic and energetic pieces that need to be in place in order to build that solid foundation for consistent clients and cash flow. So that's really what we want to bring to you today. And it can often feel like you're just like throwing darts in the dark, like, oh, well, let me try this strategy. Let me try that strategy. And so we want to really focus your energy. And that's what we're going to do today, is helping you kind of really identify, your magnetic client attraction, who you're serving, diversifying your offers, cultivating recurring referrals, and then focusing on income generating activities. So I gave you a little bit of a sneak preview there. But let's dive into the first one, Melinda. So first of all, any comments or thoughts about what I just said or what we've been talking about?
Yep. 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 You said Melinda just hit the ground running. Well, that's not quite true. It took Melinda a very long time to get out of that freeze.
Right.
I had heard about fight or flight, in, pharmacy school, we learn about fight or flight, cortisol, and the stress response. That freeze is so crucial to remember, that that is actually a part of that parasympathetic response that holds you back. And I was frozen for years. I was
Right.
like, I want to pivot out of the pharmacy. I want to do something that I'm passionate about, but I don't really know how to do it. And so I just froze. And
Right.
finally talked myself into getting my functional medicine certification. And so I have this big certification and I'm still frozen. And so just realizing that that is a thing, and that yes, it looks like I hit the ground running, but it took me a long time to even get my engines going. So,
Thank you for sharing
but
that. Yeah.
yeah, but once I got them going, it was a runway to get out of my way. But yeah, it took a long time. So,
Yeah, and I find that a lot of pharmacists, tell me if you can relate in the comments, go into that freeze response of that overwhelm, the perfectionists, like the fear of failure, that can be very debilitating. And that's, it almost feels like freeze is like one foot on the gas pedal and one foot on the brake. Like, I really want to do this, but then your body is literally holding you back because there's all of this. It's that nervous system response that's trying to keep you safe. So that makes so much sense. And there are a lot of different ways that we can mobilize that freeze energy, because freeze to me is fear, right? We're just, there's so much fear, but once we kind of, we can move with that energy and mobilize it, then that's when you hit the ground running. And so something probably happened internally, or maybe within your mindset, or something happened to allow you to finally mobilize. But again, we want to think about that idea to implementation, so that you have that divine download, you trust yourself, like, I want to start this business, and then you go, right? And so I think that's where a lot of this, the inner work, can help accelerate that path. So we'll definitely dive into that a little bit more today. Yes, I can relate to the freeze response. Yes, I see Deanne. Oh my goodness, so many wonderful ladies on here with us today. Structure and strategy. Yep, love it so much. Thank you guys for engaging here. All right, so let's dive into pillar number one, magnetic client attraction. So, by the way, I didn't even mention this. I got so excited, I forgot to mention this. So, everybody is getting a prize today. I feel like Oprah. I'm like, you get a prize and you get a prize. So, you're all getting gifted my Pivot to Profit workshop. So it's a 3-day workshop to help you with some of these pillars that we're talking about. I'm going to be going into even more detail about how to call in with, I like to say, soulfully and strategically consistent clients and cash flow. So I'm going to be dropping the link to that in the comments below. So make sure that you definitely go check that out. It's free. It's a 3-day workshop, and it will help you dive even deeper. And, as I'm going on maternity leave, you can still watch me on video. I'll be there with you. So, before we dive into the first pillar, I wanted to remind you of that because I forgot. Okay. So, magnetic client attraction. So, one of the first things that you want to think about is, and I know Melinda and I went over some of these notes together kind of in preparation for this, and I love what she said. It was about really niching down. So, Melinda, do you want to talk a little bit about that to kick us off here?
sure. So, when I finished my functional medicine certification, I was like Wonder Woman. Like, I know all this stuff now and I can help the world. And everybody that is in coaching and that has been successful was telling me, you've got to niche down. You have to niche down. You've got to pick your audience. And I'm like, what do you mean? I can help men and I can help children and I can help elderly and I can help women. Yes, yes, we see that. We realize that, but you've got to pick a niche. And that in itself, that one thing was the thing that really got my engine going. And a lot of times I've found in the networking that I've done and the conferences that I've been to in the last year is the people that have niched the most successfully have done it for a personal reason. Like they have a passion.
Right.
For instance, I have a oncology pharmacy friend. Her husband's battling brain cancer, And then I have a diabetic pharmacist friend that her sister was diagnosed at 10 years old with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
And just when it becomes personal, it's easy for it to be a passion, and it's
Right.
easier for you to dial into what that person needs from you, what you can say to that person to let them know she gets me.
Right.
I want to work with her because she gets me. And because you're not having to pretend. I mean, you're just being you because that is your passion. It just makes it easier.
Right. And I'm hearing the word as I'm kind of listening to you, like alignment, right? It's that it's a alignment, and it's also energetic momentum, because when you're passionate about something, you don't need to force yourself to get up and write that newsletter, to show up and talk about something that it's on your heart. And that, I feel like it's that inner pull, and then it's that energetic alignment of, yeah, a lot of people that I've coached too, they say like, oh, I've been through this transformation, or I've helped somebody close to me through this transformation. And so I love how you said that it's personal, and that's where you're going to pour your energy, and it's going to just feel like that natural flow, right? Of like, I want to do this, I want to put my energy toward this, and it's naturally going to lead to, I always think of like money is an energetic exchange, right? And I've seen that with you too. This is like a brag session on Melinda Day, but I want to honor where I see people really stepping out and doing what they're passionate about. And you're so clearly passionate about helping women through this transition of perimenopause, and helping balance their hormones. And of course, you're going to see on the back end, like, it does take time to build know, like, and trust factor and all of that, but you're going to see that return on investment. All of that time that you've spent over the last 6 months pouring in, investing in Pristine. I know you did a digital marketing course, right? You've energetically invested so much, and then now you're seeing the results, right? That's how it always happens, is we have to energetically put something out there, and then it comes back. So I love that we're talking about this, because I think that that's such a pivotal part of, yeah, like magnetic client attraction is. And I just did a reel on this on Instagram. It's being yourself. And so much of the beginning parts of entrepreneurship, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this too, Melinda, it's actually releasing a lot of what's been protecting us from truly showing up as ourselves. Because I think so often, like, I know for me, when I first started my business, I was so ashamed because I had an eating disorder where I would get up in the middle of the night and binge on all this unhealthy food. And I didn't tell a soul. It was like, I am taking this to my grave, because I was so ashamed of it. And then gradually I started to open up and share it with people. And I think that's actually what connects us to our ideal client, because they get it. And they're like you said before, she gets me. So I think that a lot of the beginning parts of entrepreneurship are kind of taking down these barriers and blocks and masks of how we show up, but then how we feel inside. Those are often two very different things. And I think the more you can kind of merge the two of, this is like, I'm showing up how I really am. Sorry, I have like a speaking of like authentic, here we go. I have like a hair in my face. I think that that's when you can really resonate with that soul client, because you're telling your story, you're being authentic, you're not afraid to show these different parts of yourself, where I think in the beginning it can be very scary for a lot of people. So
I think one challenge too for healthcare providers in particular is because we are so educated to be objective. Like, I want to see 2 + 2 = 4, but
right,
in entrepreneurship, there's not a whole lot of rule books. There's not a playbook really. I mean, you're sort of charting your own path. Even though you have coaches that have been there and they are guiding you, you're still charting your own path.
right.
And it's kind of fun though, because you don't have a textbook to go by. It's a challenge because you don't have a textbook. But then it's fun because you have no rules. Like, you are the rule maker, and
Yeah.
it's been fun. So
I like to think of it too, as you were talking, it's kind of like cooking, right? Like, my mom always
Mhm.
used to say, if you're baking, it has to be exact. But if you cook, you could like add a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt,
Mhm.
whatever. So you could think of it that way too. Like you said, where there's no rule book, but you can kind of add your own flavor to it. So maybe you have a coach or you have somebody that you work with, but you're going to throw a different like flavor into that marinara sauce,
Right.
you know? So I think that that's, yeah, it's like learning to kind of be a little bit more flexible and creative, like going back to what we said in the beginning and really owning your unique gifts. It's, you know, what I always talk about. So let's actually move on to pillar number 2. So diversifying your offers. Okay. So now you have, you know, your, the energetic alignment, you know, your niche. Now it's about diversifying what you're doing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you've diversified your offers, and maybe it'll give some of our audience members too ideas on what they can do. And then I'll go into some teaching points here.
So I started with this big signature program, like from A to Z, how to walk someone through this is what your menstrual cycle is doing, all the way to this is the supplements that you need to take to support yourself during this transition. And this huge program didn't hold anything back, created all the content, did all these workbooks and videos, like spent, my husband will tell you, she spent ungodly amount of time on this program.
Yeah.
And I put it out there in the world and I got crickets. So many people in my local circle would say, I've seen your stuff and I'm really interested, but I wasn't getting very many takers and I
Yeah.
got very discouraged. So I was like, okay, what do? We pivot and we reassess. And I think it's a lot of entrepreneurship is about being flexible enough to see, okay, that didn't work as well as I thought it would. So let's pivot and let's make a few adjustments. And so I've done that and I've been able to bring in some more fun lower tier offerings that
Yes.
have gotten a lot of traction lately. And even down to just being a an affiliate with Full Script or Whole Scripts or Rupa Labs or you can get affiliations with so many companies, as like in my space, beauty and skincare companies. They're out there just waiting for you to ask them for you to help market their product. And it's pretty cool when you get a little deposit in your bank account because you told somebody about an amazing product that you support.
Right.
And it's just finding those different ways to diversify your income and not. So I had this plan about if I get so many clients and they pay me so much money, then I can make this work. Well, that's great if you've got all these clients that are just waiting for you to open the doors. But as a new business, it takes time. You have to develop know, like, and trust.
Hmm.
And yeah, by just diversifying and bringing in some lower tier things, it's been able to help me reach more people. So
I love that. And we're going to talk about kind of that win-win partnership in the third pillar as well. Finding companies or you know, other people, practitioners that have a same client niche. So we'll definitely talk about that. But I love how you brought in these different tiers. And this is what I teach all the time. It's that, you know, you have a freebie, you have a low tier, mid tier, high tier. Well, think about if you're on a first date. I always use dating as an example, and someone's like, hey, let's like start dating exclusively right now. And you're like, whoa. Like, I don't know you, right? So you have to build that relationship. And oftentimes, like a lot of you probably coming on here, maybe you've come to a lot of my free content, or, you know, free live events or free workshops, or you've seen my freaking face 10,000 times on your newsfeed, and now you're like, hey, I'm here. You know, I always think of it as a merry-go-round, right? Like sometimes it has to be the right time, the right offer, and then boom, that person gets off and they're like, yes, I'm going to pay you. Here's a $47 workshop that I'm going to invest with you to learn a little bit more and get like a little sample of what you do. So I think that sometimes, and I love how, you know, we're just being real about, you know, what worked and what didn't work. If you're jumping people to a mid-tier offer, like I consider mid-tier like $2,000, $3,000, then it's almost like, oh, that's a big investment, right? Versus something a little bit more bite-sized where they get to see a little bit of the transformation that you provide. And they're like, this woman knows what she's talking about. And then they can jump to the next. And maybe they go back on the merry-go-round for another couple spins. And then they're like, oh yeah, I really want to jump into that. So I wanted to share that. And then I wanted to give an example of somebody that I purchased from. So I did my Healers in Healthcare, not show, conference last year. And there was a woman that I wanted to buy an Etsy template for Kajabi because I wanted to make a nice landing page. Well, it was like $100 or whatever it was. I wound up getting on a call with her to help troubleshoot something. And then she actually wound up building four of my landing pages, which was, I don't even know how much it was, but it was kind of like that first template that she got me in the door was the gateway to then being like, wow, look at all that this woman does. And I was able to hire her and kind of level up from there. So I've been on both ends, being the client as well as the coach that's like, hey, this is your next step. Let's come up here. So I think that it's important to have those different offers so that people can kind of get a taste of the expertise that you have. They can connect with you, rather than just free content, because that's great, but we want to move people onto the path to purchase. So that's something that I think is important. And then to your point, kind of going to pillar number 3, cultivating recurring referrals. I love how you said, partnering with these companies that you believe in. So whether that's a product or a service or becoming an affiliate partner, something I wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to pull up here on the images, is client acquisition costs. So this is something I'm going to nerd out a little bit here. This is something that I want you to think about if you are, if you're watching this, you're a coach. I want you to think about the idea that every client you get, that you acquire, was as a result of your efforts, right? We talked about that before, your energy, what you put out there. There is a cost of marketing and sales. So as an example, say that you have, you have a launch or something like that, and you do Facebook ads. There's a cost to that, whether it's direct or indirect, meaning, Melinda, you talked about before, you poured all of your energy into creating these workbooks and all these different things. That translates to, your time and effort, right? So that's still costing you something to acquire these clients. So say that you have, I did a little equation over here. So say you spend, as an example, 8 hours of networking and your hourly rate is $100 an hour, right? So that's $800 and you got 2 clients out of it. Your client acquisition cost would be $400 per client. Now, I want you to think about the fact that if you had an affiliate partnership where somebody was saying, hey, go work with this person, you would wipe out that entire topic part of the equation, right? There's no cost of marketing and sales. It's word of mouth. So why would you not pay that person? Right? So think about affiliate partnerships. I think that this is you want to be creating win-win situations because it's not costing you anything. That person's being like, I loved working with Melinda. Go work with her. So say it's $1,000 for that client to sign up with you. Throw that that affiliate 10% of that. And I've met people before who were like, oh, well, I don't want to give up that $100. I'm like, are you kidding me? So would you not want that $1,000? Like, guys, let's follow the bouncing ball. Like, would you rather have a client or not have a client? So I want you to really expand. If that's uncomfortable to you, that's okay. But think outside the box, because then it's like, okay, would you rather have $900 or $0, right? So partnering with people who want to help you, that you're happy to pay. Like I'm happy to give people, affiliate commission, because then I'm not, look at the top of the equation, cost of marketing and sales, 0, right? And I'm so grateful for that. As long as it's an aligned, genuine partnership and it's like, hey, this feels great, it feels aligned, why wouldn't you do that? So thinking about that, like, I know you don't want to let that $100 go, but then you're losing out. There's another cost on the other side of it where, like, okay, then you wouldn't have that client, right? So I think it's important to look at some of these out of the box ways that we can start to, like Melinda said, partner with other companies, or, think about that. Like, integrated nutrition as an example. Let me just get rid of this. Like I was an affiliate, or I still am. and they give, I think it's like 10% or something like that, because they're thankful. They're like, hey, we would not know this person unless you connected them. So I
And
think
it's
that's,
more like
go ahead.
focused marketing too, because I mean it's marketing. They're getting the word out for your product, but they're focusing it on someone that's going to be interested in it, in opposed to throwing $900 at a Facebook ad that you're
Right.
just throwing it out in the world and you don't have any idea if you're going to even get any return on that. I'll tell you a funny story. My very first Facebook ad was announcing the hormonal pharmacist, right? Allow me to introduce myself. Here's the hormonal pharmacist. Come and let me help you with your hormones. I didn't know all the Facebook settings on the ads, and so
Right.
it went out to the general public. Can I tell you how many men commented on my page wanting um, help with their hormones, so to speak? And I'm like, why am I getting all these men? And so um,
Oh no.
that was a lesson learned. I swear I got like 65 messages from men, and I was like, something is bad wrong. So
Oh.
I had to dial that back and actually learn what I was doing and fix the settings. And the next time it was successful. But that's a funny story. So my very first Facebook ad was gathering men for erectile dysfunction drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Epic fail, but you learn, right?
Yeah, well, and think about that. That was a cost of, back to that equation, the cost of marketing and sales. Like, you invested, X amount of dollars, and sometimes Facebook ads do not translate, because think about it. If I were to recommend, like, if someone were to recommend me, oh yeah, go talk to so and so, some random person that I've never met, I have no connection to, versus, hey, Melinda Fowler, I know that you know her, go buy real estate from her husband, I'd be like, okay, yes, right, because
Mhm.
I know her. Versus, I feel
Mhm.
like Facebook ads can sometimes be like, I definitely wouldn't start off with that, because you want to have more of that organic reach. Like, your friends, your family, your community. There's so much opportunity, even within networking within like a chamber of commerce or different things like that. Where I feel like with Facebook ads, you're kind of throwing this wide net, and it's good. It can be good for nurturing relationships, getting people into a funnel, and something like that. But again, just things to think about for that client acquisition cost. Like, are you getting leads that are happy to pay you, or that they, I don't know, like, is it a quality lead? So you want to be looking at that too. um and then the last pillar, so we talked about a lot so far, and this is such a great Facebook live. I haven't even checked the chat. Yes, to collaboration. Yeah, Deanne, you get it. Yes, absolutely. And honestly, like, I would rather pay, rather than paying Facebook, I want to pay like other people who who have worked with me, who are like, oh my god, you have to work with Christina. Like, I want to pay you. I want to pay people in this group. Like, that's why I do giveaways, because I want more people coming into the group. I'm not going to pay Facebook. Like, I want to pay you guys and reward you for, helping me, because, every little, bit helps, whether you're sharing word of mouth referrals or testimonials or whatever. Like, that's where I want to put my money. So that's kind of my rationale, but take or leave, whatever works. um so the last pillar is focusing on income generating activities. So it's easy, I think, in the beginning, especially, to focus on, and I know I did this too, to my detriment, like all the back end activities of like messing around with a website, and like, oh, the copy's not right. But a lot of it, I think, I'll call myself out. You guys know I'm raw and real about everything. I think a lot of it was my perfectionism. Like, I was hiding behind the computer because I was so terrified of being seen. And that was a lot of like childhood stuff, I think, that, I had a lot of shame, a lot of things that prevented me from truly showing up and shining, as like, this version of myself now is not who I was. Like, Deanne, you've seen my Deanne's seen my old ass YouTube videos of like, I was super awkward and I wasn't confident. And so it takes time, I think, to, do this inner transformation work, to start showing up as yourself, to be able to then take that consistent action. Whereas in the beginning, I think I was doing a lot of that hiding, and like, oh well, I'll work on my WordPress and like figure this out, right? Because it's unconsciously, it's hard sometimes to to show up and be vulnerable. And so I want to just acknowledge all of you who are growing businesses, because I know, it takes all sorts of personal development and inner transformation work as well. So I think that once you can once you really do that deeper transformation, then it becomes easier to take action on those income generating activities. So some examples could be doing a Facebook Live where you say, hey, I'm going to teach you a couple things, just like what we're doing here. And I'm like, hey, go check out my Pivot to Profit workshop. It's free, blah, blah, blah. Like that is an income generating activity. Or you can do, like reaching out to leads or some other things that it could be like selling your low tier offer. We talked about that before, or putting out, Melinda, you were saying before about a full script, like put an offer out there. That is an income generating activity. You have any other examples that you can think of off the top of your head?
Um, Full script has been actually a big contributor to my income. Just from, you take whatever margin you have set up with them and give people a 10% discount. Yes, you're losing out on 10%, but you're still getting, say it's a 30% margin that you have. You're still getting 20% more than you had from not promoting them, you
Right.
know? You kind of have to keep in that perspective, like, and you talk about this a lot in wealth generating, sharing your wealth.
Yeah.
It always comes back to you. It really does. And I'm starting to see that now. I'm seeing, and you can tell it to me till you're blue in the face. But when I start seeing it for myself, I really start believing it. So I've really started seeing that, and it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because a lot it's typically the opposite, right? Like you said, pharmacists or, more left brain thinkers were like, well, we need to see the proof. But it's actually believing it and feeling it. And this is actually a practice that I do. I feel and generate the desired feelings of whatever that thing is. So if I, want to attract new clients, okay, like how would that make me feel? I generate that emotion inside of myself and then attune to that frequency, and then things naturally come in. And it's not how we typically think. It's like the opposite. Like I'll believe it when I see it. It's usually,
Mhm.
that's the norm. So I think that um that's the power of really working on your belief system, on your nervous system, decreasing that idea to implementation gap, to be able to take consistent action in your business. Yes, and every little bit that to, comes back to you counts. It adds up. Yes. I would love to hear, actually, since we're at the end of the broadcast, does anybody have questions or like, yes, that really stood out to me, or for myself or Melinda, questions? And like I said, as I wait for anything to come through the chat, make sure that you are, actually, I need to drop the link, but this Pivot to Profit workshop, I'm actually really proud of it because I worked with a guy on Fiverr, and he created this beautiful funnel. So whenever you go to type in your name and email, you'll get, day 1, 2, 3. It looks beautiful. He did a kick-ass job. Talk about like delegating and using really people that are excellent at technology. So I'm really excited about that. Because like I said, this is my last Facebook Live before baby Lindsay's born. So I wanted to make sure that I came on with my beautiful client, and we were able to answer any questions that you might have about any of these pillars that we talked about today. And I want to just again say thank you to Melinda for inviting so many people into this group. And I'm sure we're going to get a ton of great YouTube watch too, because I'm going to put this on YouTube. So yeah, let me see, Deanne. Learning to be perfectly imperfect actually allows the right clients to be drawn to us and remind them they don't have to do things perfectly when they work with us. It's a journey that has to be met with self-compassion. My reel today was about that. Deanne, we're literally on the same frequency because I posted about that too. When we are generous and serve, it is felt by others. Yes. And I want to acknowledge Deanne too. She's a simplifying streamline client of mine, and I can feel through your reels, Deanne, that your energy is it's powerful. There's like it made me stop scrolling when I went and looked at it today. So yes, bravo to you. Dia, so every month in Simplify and Streamline, we have like a little contest and we keep points. We have a point system. So like there's a points for doing your homework, for coming on the live calls, and Deanne's trying to win this month because I can tell she's like doing every single action step. And she probably will, but you know we'll see at the end of the month. So I like doing fun things again, like reward your clients too. That's just another thing. Just one last thing, reward people who help you, who give you word of mouth referrals. I know we talked about this with affiliate partnerships, but like, you know, testimonials. Like I am happy to give someone an Amazon gift card. Like, thank you for taking the time and writing something and spending that time to, you know, create a testimonial for me. I want to give back to people. So I think that's really the crux of successful business, and we talk about this all the time. Is that wealth circulation? Whether it's it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could be knowledge. It could be a freebie. Like we talked about so many different things today. But if you're like this and you're in scarcity and you're like, I can't give, right? That's the energy that you're lacing your business with, and so I want you to just open up your hands and say, okay, I'm willing to give, I'm willing to share. And I think that when you come from that giver's, that servant heart, you're going to have that flow come back to you. So, any last thoughts, Melinda, before we close out today? This was awesome.
I would just say if you are thinking about pivoting, um, just keep thinking, just keep looking, keep researching. I will tell you this, Christina, I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but it's probably 6 or 7 years ago that I saw you for the first time on an Instagram reel or something. I was literally standing behind the pharmacy counter at a big box chain store watching your Instagram reels and thinking, the pharmacist coach, huh? So she's like stepped out and she's doing something new. And I before that, I had never it had never dawned on me that I could do anything other than work for someone else in a big corporation. So,
Wow.
um, just to know that it took me literally 6 or 7 years to
Wow. Yeah.
get out of myself and get out of my freeze and just do the thing. So
I appreciate you sharing that. I always say, like, I call it like Lauren Dantimo was like, I followed you for like 8 months and then I finally reached out. I'm like, yeah, and now we're like dating, you know? So I always like joke and say, like, people, you know, sometimes, yeah, I get it. Like you kind of eye that person, you're like, am I ready to hire them? Like, is this aligned? And I get that. Trust me, I get that too. So um so 6 years. It's been a
yes,
long courtship.
yes. And then when you came out with Pivot to Profit, I was like, yeah, eh. And then I thought, it's free. It's 3 days. If I really am truly interested in investing in myself, can I invest 3 hours? It
Yeah.
says 3 days, but it's 3 hours. And the amount of information that you shared in Pivot to Profit was invaluable. And it was just like, gave me the unction to say, I can do this,
Yeah.
let's do
Yeah.
it. So if you're thinking about Pivot to Profit, I would say definitely join. And I mean, you don't have anything to lose.
Yeah,
Christina's
literally.
very
It's
generous
free.
in she's very generous in what she shares, and there's not a lot of gatekeeping. There's just a lot of real transparency, and yeah, if you're thinking about it, just do it.
Oh, thank you. Wow. I will post that. People are like, where do I get that? So I'm going to post it in the comments and so everybody can access that. But yeah, Melinda, thank you so much. Everybody, make sure you are following Melinda, connect with her, hormonal pharmacist everywhere, Instagram, anywhere else you, or any other things that you want to share about Melinda before we hop off.
Just
Like,
Instagram,
yep.
Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn. I was able to nail all of those hormonal pharmacists and lock those down. So if you search for hormonal pharmacist, that's going to be me. So,
Awesome. I love it. And we will let you guys know who we've picked for our two winners. So we'll be doing getting our monocle on and checking out who is most engaged in all that. So you will get a message from us. And thank you so much for joining.